Hello, world, and welcome to Coffee and Comics, the show where we drink coffee
and talk about comics. I'm Garrett.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about Murder Falcon #1. Fun little story. So, quite a while ago, we were shopping at our local comic store. While I was looking through the new releases, I saw an ad for Murder Falcon, and it was, I'm pretty sure the ad was the cover for issue 1.
Which is dope.
The expression is don't judge a book by its cover.
But people judge books by their covers.
It's an expression for a reason. Because the first thing you see, the thing that makes you pick it up off a shelf, is the cover. So you want something that's going to grab the eye, that's going to give hints about what the book is going to be about, get the audience sitting down with it. So there's a promise that happens whenever you read or look at a comic cover. And I think we can all relate that sometimes that promise does not deliver. Sometimes you see a cover that is outrageously cool. It's like some, like Frazetta style oil painting that looks just like the most immaculate artwork with the most epic duel. And then you read the book and it's like kind of lazy art. The point is that if you are looking at a shelf of 20 different comic books and you have to pick the one that you're going to spend your money on and take home and read, the covers are going to be one of the elements that helps you judge which one to take.
Absolutely.
This is an outstanding promise of what's to come.
Why?
It is the same art that you find inside the book on the cover, which is awesome. I don't necessarily need it to be the same artist, but I think it's important to at least not feel like you're getting cheated out of the artistic experience on the cover once you open the book. The readability of Murder Falcon #1 is outstanding. The book already has delivered on its cover promise by page 5. Daniel Warren Johnson's doing the pencils, and I'm guessing the inking as well. And Mike Spicer is doing the coloring. And these guys are an awesome team.
Kind of like us.
Yeah. The line work is really it's sharp. And part of why that's so good is that he's really good about his line weight. What I mean by that is that, when you look at a character, they have this heavy kind of warbly line for their outline. And then as you get further into the background, everything gets a lot finer as details disappear as you go into the background of the comic. Things in the foreground have that nice chunky weight that help place them everywhere. The line work even has really nice motion to it when characters are either running or his bionic arm is swinging.
It's almost like it vibrates.
It's got that nice vibration to it, so it really feels like, action-packed. He does really great angles. Like he does kind of like a nice little distorted. Was that like a Dutch angle? Do they call that? Like when
that fist cranked way back close to our perspective. As we know, it's going to go rocketing forward towards the monster, which is in the farther portion of the frame.
He also he earns the cheat panels.
Yeah, he earns the cheat panels.
When you're filling a comic with 120 different pieces of artwork, eventually you're going to come to a point where you just don't feel like drawing everything. You want to just draw a character. Right here we've got Jake posing with the guitar, just on a white field, no background.
Cheating.
And it kind of is, right? And it would especially be cheating if we never got a background, but they are really clever because we've already gotten some really juicy panels where we get a whole cityscape. Well, and they never really go too deep on it, but we get enough that we know where everything is.
And
So
they give us something very important.
his feet.
Feet. I mean, you love feet. Let's be fair. You have a thing for feet.
Well, that's not, no.
You do.
No.
It's in the frames, grounding characters in the frames. You need feet.
That's different than saying to the internet that I love feet. I think it's super important.
Look at that foot compared to that fist. That's that Dutch angle you were talking about.
Yeah. I just think it's super important to make sure that you're showing this grounded quality to your characters, making sure that we know where in the environment this is. And because he did all this work to really show the scale of the monster next to people, to show that Jake has feet and he's standing on the ground.
And they're not made of triangles?
He does all this work to place him into the environment. Suddenly he gets a page where he doesn't have to necessarily worry about drawing all the buildings and stuff like that.
But like you said, he earns it.
But he absolutely earns that. So he can just have a shot of Jake and the monster, just a basic shot of him on the background. And then there's the color. And man, oh man, Mike Spicer, I am really glad they gave him billing on the top. But he got top billing on there, and he earned it, man, because the colors in here are awesome. I mean, even like the color tells story just like everything else. And when your color tells story, you're doing a good job. The other important element besides, crafting an intelligent story is readability. That's just actually getting your audience to be able to read what's on the page, absorb it, and get to the next page. Whenever I start reading a comic and my eyes glaze over and I just start flipping pages and looking at pictures, that's a bad thing.
No, seriously, he does. He hates dialogue.
Well, I don't. I hate it when it's not delivered to me in a way where I can't appreciate it.
Giant chunks of dialogue.
And I mean, I can read. I read books all the time. That's a whole different experience. But a comic is you are matching art with writing. And if it's not balanced correctly, you just don't want to consume it. The first page, there's more to it than simply run, monster, open fire, and whoa. But those are the bolded words, and that gets across what's going on. There's a monster. The tanks can't kill it. That's a big problem. Then suddenly we have a quick sequence of our main character
who comes in the dragon wagon.
And once again, the bolded beats down here is Jake. And it's going to eat a baby. I mean, building on that, I love by panel 3 we established that guns are no use against these things.
Because they eat tanks.
Guns and tanks
and babies
are ineffective against monsters. But what does beat them is the power of metal. Which, that's awesome. And he's going to beat it because I brought metal, and pulls out his guitar. So a tank can't kill this thing, but this doughy guy in a blue and orange van
in a non-bespoke yellow T-shirt
is gonna take it out with metal,
with the power of metal.
Which that's a great premise by itself.
Yeah, by what, page 3, page 4?
Yes, page 3. Page 4 and 5 we introduce Murder Falcon. Suddenly we have these awesome sound effects as he starts playing his guitar, and he's summoned in on a
bolt of lightning.
This seems to be the hallmark for him, is this electric blue, right? We should just appreciate the character design for Murder Falcon for a second. He is the most over-the-top, just 6-year-old idea of a wrestling character, and I love it.
It's so good.
Some muscly Falcon dude with a red headband, a giant bionic arm, and a pair of cargo pants with Converse. Dude is shredded.
With the bionic arm, too, which...
I love stupid, oversized bionic arms. I love the way that it's drawn. So this is getting into the style and my just opinion on the fact that I think this big, goofy, oversized robot arm is just rad looking.
I think that's a good word to use to describe the comic's feel as a whole. Rad.
Yeah. If
Bringing it back.
If you want a rad comic book, Murder Falcon is the one to go for. And then this page finishes off with "Metal will destroy all evil," which is a great sentiment.
It's a tagline for the entire series,
and that's a rocking looking punch. And I'm not at this point. I'm not even really reading the word bubbles here. I'm just getting that from reading the sound effect words, which I think is still readability in terms of the writing. Storytelling is not just what people are saying. It's the sound of things going on. It's the lightning coming down.
It's the whole experience of reading the comic. You can't have giant blocks of exposition and expect me to sit through it to get to the story. You want to show me the story and then ask me, entreat me, entice me to read some of that exposition to ground myself in the context.
And they also do something really smart immediately after this. We get a big change. When we flip to page 6,
talk about that.
All of a sudden, there is so much dialogue on this page. And that would be scary if this was page 1. But it's not page 1, it's page 6. And they have already bought my interest with 5 beautifully done pages with a monster and a bionic chicken man punching it and a kid playing metal. They have earned the right for me to sit here and read because I want to know how we got to that intro.
Garrett's going to do the hard part of reading the words.
So they have a page where we have 2 characters, Jake and his buddy.
God, we have so many panels, though.
Yeah, but you have a nice little page of them having a conversation.
You find out a lot about Jake in one page.
And then the next page, they give us this juicy, like nearly half-page panel
of his rundown house.
Of his neighborhood.
And it's a sudden palette shift, complete color shift from the oranges and blues and more vibrant colors earlier.
And he earned the right to put in a bunch of words on these bubbles. Because before that, they're pretty easy to pick up these words. Now, we've been through a couple of pages of just fighting us like that. It's a relief to not have to be in the moment of these fights and get a cool moment to read. So it's beautifully balanced. You're never reading too many words going, when is this going to stop? When is this going to pick up? And when it does pick up, you don't just burn through the book. It's not like you just flip through the pages, seeing the fight and go, oh, okay.
So after that intro, Metal will destroy all evil, we jump into 2 weeks ago.
Those are the 2 weeks that they promised us earlier, right?
How many pages? 2 weeks and how many pages?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Hey, that's pretty good.
And then once again, we're back to the crazy.
But now that we know the context for this fight, we know about the antagonist, the Magnum Chaos, who is sending his Veldar to invade the planet and enslave humanity.
I forgot the name's dude. The dude's name is Magnum Chaos.
Of course,
what a great name for a.
That's pretty rad.
Now that we're getting into the action, now that we've gone through a few pages of grounding and exposition story-wise, we're getting back into the action, and suddenly the panel count drops down. 1, 2, 3.
And that's actually remarkable because a lot of people think when you pick up the pace in comic books or in action films, you want to have rapid frames, rapid panels, a lot of things happening.
I mean, great artwork too. I mean, we get that beautiful line work I was talking about, this heavy, chunky line around his foot.
So you sure it's not fair for me to say you have a thing about feet?
It's definitely not fair to say everything about feet. One of the most fun things to draw is somebody getting their clock cleaned, and man, oh man, it's just falling apart into strings of meat. That looks great. They really know exactly how they use sound. Dialogue happens in bubbles, but all the other sound effects are these kind of awesome, kind of like a metal zine, kind of jagged font. And he does a really smart thing where he uses the same style of sound effect to do all of the lyrics for the song.
And we stay inside of Jake's color palette.
And it's not the artist or the letterer like importing some like wacky sound effect fonts and
it's
kind of manipulating it.
You can tell.
Like, no, these are hand like drawn, lovingly drawn words that feel like the way they sound, which is awesome. And the colorist does a really great job of punching that up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we get you get a great moment of the characters bonding and kind of talking more about their motivations.
You get the brilliant 2-pager.
I
love me a 2-pager.
And something that I think most comics should think about is a 2-page spread. I love it as an artist. It's a chance to really kind of do something worth looking at. You're making it's almost like a mini poster.
It's a statement, and you don't want to waste your 2-pager or even your 1-pager on something that's going to have a lot of dialogue in it, that's going to require a lot of reading to it. You want to be able to absorb it, look at it, and really enjoy what you're seeing. Although, if you are going to use it as a storytelling device, it also needs to make a statement about the world we're in. And he really achieves that because we've got the two of them sitting on the dragon wagon drinking beer, and in the background, farther away, we see the biggest, meanest crab monster looking menacing. That's definitely an obstacle that they're going to have to overcome. It's like they're looking at the mountain that they're going to have to scale. They're staring down the forces of evil that they're going to have to defeat. That's what you want in a 2-page spread.
And they also place it in a really good spot. It's towards the end of the book. We got one more page left. And they kind of they kind of hit home that message. They basically confirmed that we're gonna have to take that down, and we're gonna do it by shredding
and
playing metal.
And he crushes the beer can when he says shredding because we're still in the 80s metal band.
And come on, the ending line: "Will you help me, Jake? Will you help me get your band back together?" Well, I mean that's
a call to adventure,
and that makes me want to read issue 2.
Yeah. Last thing I think is important to say, there is an afterword. And the notes in this, they really struck a chord, no pun intended, with me.
Coward. Take ownership of your puns. Pun intended.
And that's, if it wasn't enough to make me want to read issue 2 because we're going to get the band back together and destroy evil with metal, the notes really did. Because there's something good in the notes. But really, Daniel Warren Johnson, thank you for writing this comic, because I think this is the type of thing we need in the world. This is what's going to save the world. Mm-hmm. Metal and good comics.
It's not that deep of a message, but it's a passionate one.
It's purposefully stated, though.
Yes, and that's what matters. I think that it's important that any artist also gets in the habit of leaving notes about what they did and why they did it. A really important thing to get in the habit of is if you are creating any kind of art, writing, painting, comics, music, whatever, you should get in the habit of stating your intentions. You don't even have to necessarily put that artist statement out into the world, but you should be able to collect what you mean and put it into a message that you can write down.
Art needs to be intentional.
If you can't write down your intentions with something, and they don't have to be grandiose, they can be pretty simple, but I have a feeling that if you start writing your intentions down, you're going to find that they are a little bit more grandiose than you may have thought.
Or at least a more powerful and significant and focused. And that gives you passion and clarity to the work that you want to make. Anytime you have something that has a driving purpose behind it, it's going to be powerful.
Yeah.
And it's important to articulate that, if not to your audience, then at least to yourself. So you know what you're fighting for, writing for, shredding for. as long as you have a good issue 1 that has all of those quintessential characteristics, the introduction, the call to adventure, learning about the protagonist, the antagonist, and the support that's going to be found along the way, then you've got something successful that can capture the reader's attention. And, you're going to have them go to issue 2 with you. So I hope you enjoyed our critique. Was it a critique? Was it a review? I don't know. Now we're using too many words. We hope you enjoyed it. Yeah. Look forward to more content like this from us in the future when we bring to you our series Coffee and Comics. Stay tuned for future updates from Global Frequency Studios.
Yeah, and tune into the frequency.
All right. See you next time.